Listen.
Hey, hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing really well out there, wherever you might be in this whole wide world. Yeah, I'm back with part 2 of sorts of the video that I published here on my channel yesterday, my Friday video. So this is the natural continuation, really, of my musical journey this week. Well, every week for me is filled with music. I always listen to a lot of music, but this week especially has been a very music-centered, really. There's been a lot of new discoveries, and of course we have the Eurovision as well. We had both the semi-finals taking place, and today we have the big final, of course. And I haven't really talked about this here on my channel, but every year I try to mention some of my favorites in the final. I'm going to do just that before we continue as well, if anyone's interested. So my favorites in this final of the Eurovision is Belgium. I love that track. It gives me a lot of energy and makes me want to dance the day away, really. Dancing on Ice, it's called, yeah. And then we have Italy, of course. Who can resist an Italian crooner singing beautifully over a disco-influenced track? Love this one. I simply adore this one. It's been on my playlist for a couple of weeks now. And then we have Croatia with a very mysterious song, Andromeda, or Andromeda, I think it's called. It's my Swedishness that comes through here when I'm trying to pronounce certain words. But yeah, they evoke certain powers from Mother Earth or something. I'm absolutely mesmerized by this track. A very powerful track, so that has to be among my favorites. And then we have Denmark, of course, singing in Danish this time around, and I think this track works so well. Great staging, love the song, all of it. Absolutely fantastic. And of course I have to include Sweden. Well, I really don't have to. I genuinely like this song. We take things very seriously in Sweden when it comes to the Eurovision and how we pick our winner to send to the Eurovision. And I think this time around, following the Swedish Melodifestivalen, it's been very exciting, but this has been on top of my list ever since I heard it the first time, and I was rooting for her to push through to Eurovision, and she did. So we'll see how Sweden fares in this Eurovision tonight. But those are my five favorites. What a tongue twister for me. Yeah, if anyone cared at all. But now let's move on with what I've been up to this week, other than going to the independent label market last weekend. So I told you about Discover Alexis Strum's album Addicted at that label market. So I bought this one blind buy. I had no clue what it really was. Alexis said to me at the time, when I asked her, what genre is this? And she said, well, electropop. Simple and plain, and I bought it because I love electropop. But I think Alexis is not being fair to herself, because listening back to this album throughout this week, it's so much more. It's a very wide spectrum of genres, really. Here is your electropop, of course, but you also have some guitar-driven indie pop on this one, and then you have some down-tempo songs as well that are very, very good, very emotional driven songs as well. And that might sound like a mismatch, really, with a lot of genres just stuck onto one album, but let me tell you, they gel so well. And it's down to the production of the album, I have to say, because it's very cleverly done. There is a cohesiveness, is that even a word, throughout the whole album. And also presents us with a bit of a twist and turn here and there that you actually raise an eyebrow of. You're like, ooh, that was clever, and ooh, that was a great hook. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of hit potential to this album, Addicted. And that makes the history even more baffling, really, when you consider that Warner Brothers, who actually was supposed to bring out this album in 2002, shelved the album. I don't have the full story of this. I would love to know more about it. I read up what I could read up on this one. But I think we have an excuse to come back to Alexis Strum at a later point. So absolutely fantastic album, I have to say. And I listened to it quite a lot this week because I thought it was a good album, right? And I know that when I visited the label market, that they promoted some live shows with Alexis as well that she was doing this week in different places across the country. And one of those gigs was in London on Thursday. So I was like, yeah, I'm working from London on Thursday, so that is perfect. So I went ahead and pre-ordered a ticket for this gig. And yeah, that's basically what I did. I went to the gig on Thursday. I magically transported here into the heart of London, Soho. And here, behind me, over there, we have the Karma Sanctum, where tonight's gig will take place. So we'll head on in. So this place in Soho, we could call it a bar really, like a gig bar or something like that. I haven't been to one of these places in ages, but it brought back memories to especially the 1990s when I used to go and see a lot of gigs in small venues like this, you know, like a bar space. You couldn't fit too many people there, but it became this very intimate feeling, you know, the direct connection with the artist and the fans, and that's exactly what I was about to experience in this very place in Soho. Just dedicated fans, and we all mingled with each other and talked to each other about the love of music, and of course long-time fans of Alexis Strum's music. So that was so great. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But before Alexis took to the stage in this small venue, another artist took the stage, like not really a warm-up act, but a supporting act, we might call it. And that was Sarah Whatmore. And to me, it didn't ring a bell, the name itself, but when she kicked off the first song, Automatic, I instantly recognized it. So this is one song that I do remember hearing at some point, but I couldn't connect it with a name. But now I have that connection, Sarah Whatmore. And lo and behold, there are parallels between Alexis and Sarah's careers here when it comes to releasing albums. So Sarah was, what I read up on the internet, part of Pop Idol here in the UK in the early 2000s. And she was signed to release an album called Living Proof, I think around 2003 or something like that, after having two top 10 singles here in the UK. So that was Automatic, that I just talked about, and When I Lost You. Both of them within the top 10 in the UK. And then they were supposed to release an album called Living Proof. Never happened. It was shelved as well. So yeah, there are parallels to this. And I think it took her up until 2008 when she took a long break, of course, but she's still writing a lot of songs. I think the article that I read on Wikipedia said around 200 songs in the matter of just some years there. And she released an album called Time to Think, which is a really suitable title for this one, because she had time to think over these years and released this album. And then in 2016 she released an EP, and I think that's the most recent one. Someone has to correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but this is what I could find from my research on the internet. Full Circle, the EP was called, released in 2016. So she performed more songs here, not just Automatic, and I loved every single one of them. So hey, here you go. Me discovering yet another new artist. I'm putting a new in between that because it's really not new artists. So both Alexis and Sarah, absolutely stunning stuff. And then Alexis took to the stage, of course, and she performed the whole Addicted album from start to finish, and then some more.
It's your love, keep me guessing on, unpredictable, like a rodeo ghost, I don't wanna get up. It's your love, keep me guessing on your love, unpredictable, your love, like a rodeo ghost, I don't wanna get up. We're jumping from the left, come on, stuff so sweet, stress, so real. You're having it, I'm coming up, really tempted out of this, let's know your time.
And as I already said before, I think this was a great gig. There wasn't that many people because the venue itself, or the bar area, couldn't really fit that many people. But the people who were there thoroughly enjoyed this. It was just filled with love, the whole room. And like I said, she performed the whole album, Addicted, in a really good way. She's got a great voice, and I listened to this one, as I also said before, throughout this week, and I usually have to take my time to just listen through an album before I move on to the next one. But on my playlist on my way to work this week, for example, both to and from, I also mixed in some other tracks from her other two albums, because she did release an album called Cocoon as well, and this actually turned up today, on this Saturday, with the mail, because I ordered it from Back on Wax earlier this week, and now it turned up. So I haven't had a chance to listen to the whole thing, but like I said, on my playlist on Spotify I put some of these tracks on there, so I was familiar of how she progressed her sound from Addicted, because this one, I believe it was supposed to be released in, was it 2006? Anywho, this is yet another album that was shelved by the record company. I'm equally baffled by this one. I'm actually more baffled by this one, because this time around, I think it was supposed to be released on Mercury Records. At least that's what I found when I was doing my research here on the internet. But yeah, this has so much hit potential as well, just like Addicted. For what reason did they shelve this one? I have no clue at all. So during this week, I have also been listening to some tracks from this one, just to make myself more acquainted. I'm always curious, how did they develop themselves through the music throughout the years. Granted, this wasn't written and recorded that long after Addicted, but still, you could hear a progression in the sound, the way it's produced. But like I said, hit potential from a lot of these songs. One of the songs I had from this one on my playlist was Bad Haircut, a song that she actually performed this Thursday brilliantly. And it is a brilliant track. It's got a lot of hit potential, a good hook to it, and a beautiful, beautiful production. Another one I also had was both Cocoon and Maybe Someday. Great tracks all over. I'm sure. I haven't heard the other ones, but just hearing 3 tracks from this one, I was like, yeah, I'm convinced this girl has a real talent. And why wasn't this released? So once again, we have an excuse to come back to this one at a later stage here on my channel, because I want to do a deep dive on this. Why didn't it happen? I mean, it could have been so much more. But better late than never, we got them eventually. So like I said, this one dropped in my mailbox today, so I haven't had a chance really to listen to it yet, but it's a beautiful presentation, again, from Back on Wax. And it comes on a beautiful magenta vinyl, and also a really nice inner here as well, with some track listings and credits. Absolutely fantastic. Cocoon, her second album, out on the market now in physical format, all due to Back on Wax and of course Alexis Strum herself. But it doesn't end there, because she actually have a third album out. It came out last year, and she was kind enough to give me this copy at the gig on Thursday. And let me tell you, I haven't listened to the whole album yet, because, you know, it's only been 2 days or so. But the things I heard from this, it's absolutely wonderful. And she performed the title track live on the stage on Thursday. Absolutely beautiful, emotional track. Yeah. So I'm certainly going to listen to this one. Swim is out on CD, just like I think Cocoon, you can get that on CD as well, and Addicted as well. But this is only CD so far. There are perhaps plans to release this on vinyl as well. So if you only buy vinyl records, hey, do an exception and buy this one on CD. I'll tell you, from what I heard so far, and I only listened to 3 or 4 tracks on this one, it's absolutely stunning. So, but yeah, so I have 2 great albums here, her second and third album, that I need to listen to in the coming week.
Like a thief in the night, you're taking a bite of what is yours, and all that you adore. The whole world is a mess. I've seen the side effects, and how could I resist?
As we all know, there is a treasure trove of undiscovered music out there. We hear this from time to time about an album or singles or whatever it might be that have been shelved at some point and never saw the light of the day. And then all of a sudden it is released, and in some cases, when you listen back to these ones, you can understand why they weren't released that time, why they were shelved. But in the case of these 2 women, both Alexis and Sarah's albums that were shelved at the time, it is baffling to say the least. Hit potential all across the board. Who took this decision to listen to it and be like, nah, I don't think we're going to release this, or there were other circumstances? I don't know, but like I said, it grants a deep dive really into why these were never released. But thankfully today they are released both digitally and in some cases, as we saw, on physical media, both CD and vinyl. In a perfect world where these albums were released when they were supposed to be released, we would probably all be wearing different colored hair today and have a different view of the world. It would be a better place, and we would all go around humming Rodeo to ourselves. And the tracks, What I Miss and Close to Me, would have been seen as one of those great tracks from the early 2000s that everyone remembers. To me, that is what it was supposed to be like.
I want you to calm me down the way you used to do. Done with the lies, now my heart's so blue. I give my life, spend more time with you. Now
That's it from me for this second part of my musical journey this past week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that I was able to get you interested in both Sarah and Alexis' music here. And like I said, I will talk more about these two artists in future episodes here for sure. So now I want to hear from you guys as well. Do you have anything similar happen to you? Did you discover something new this week, or did you discover something new in the past couple of weeks, or whenever it was? I want to hear it, all about it, down in the comments. Yes, that's it. Now I am going to get ready for the Eurovision, and of course, if you have any comments about the Eurovision and your favorites for this Saturday final, please let me know down in the comments as well. Now I will let you go. Thank you for sticking with me for throughout this whole video. I will be back next Friday with yet another video. As usual, it's me and Danny just taking the charge, leading the way into the weekend. But until then, you all take care of yourself, you stay cool, you keep playing that music, and of course I'm gonna bid you a very heartfelt Swedish adieu to you all.